Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad that you stopped by. What if you were invisible? Well, that's exactly what I have figured out. I've been for years invisible, at least in the eyes of Google. Yep, I'm one of those guys. I cannot wait to hang out here with Dhaval Patel. He's going to help us, well, be visible to Google and actually be one that has a high search domain or high domain authority and actually be found on Google because, well, that's not a bad thing in today's world. What's up, Dhaval?
Hey, not much. I'm a little shocked at you, but we're gonna fix the situation right now and right here. And it's something that's very fresh in my mind and something that I know about.
Of course you do. I'm glad so this is going to be a case example. We're going to be hanging out for actually about 15 minutes. You people out there are going to watch and listen. Well, to Dhaval actually turning my business around as far as marketing goes. I'm really embarrassed to say this, but yes, I've been invisible and he's going to turn around. And I think he can be turned around pretty quickly. I'm going to give you some numbers and he's going to define some of these numbers for us. And then again, right before your very eyes and ears, you're going to see Vast and hear vastsolutionsgroup.com being turned into a visible being as far as Google finds. My domain authority is 19 at vastsolutionsgroup.com. And he's going to define that. Yes, I'm embarrassed. Thanks. I only have 150 backlinks, or meaning we at vastsolutionsgroup.com only have 150 backlinks. And this is the most embarrassing one that we could change immediately. Just like you guys out there, you guys will be able to change your keyword ranking pretty darn quickly based on what Dhaval's going to say. We only have 8 keywords. So Dhaval, what does it mean exactly that we only have 19 as far as a count of domain authority?
So Google ranks you on a scale of 0 to 100. And your domain authority is essentially how well you're optimized for search and how popular your site is. So a site like bbc.co.uk, British news, would be like 100 on the scale. For a company like yours, I'm a little shocked. I wouldn't say you're doing an awful job. I'd say you're doing a really sub-average job.
You're being kind.
Yeah. I want you to be at least a 30 or above. And I encourage all the listeners to focus on this number because it's often overlooked. And it could mean your email is going to spam. It could mean your ads not getting served. It could also mean losing clients, which is the most important thing. So walk me through it. Let me talk about some more phrases and I'll articulate what they mean and how to improve on them. So,
okay.
Yeah.
By the way, first, real quickly, tell us who you are and why you're hanging out with us here today.
Yeah, Dhaval Patel. I'm a marketing consultant. I've been working at Do Good Digital for 15 years, and I'm an expert on search. So I'm really glad you brought me on today because we've talked about a broad number of subjects of which I'm not an expert, but I could speak to. But this is actually something I'm an expert on, I would say. Hopefully someone doesn't come back and say, no, he's not. But
yeah, you are. Believe me, I know you are. So thank you for explaining domain authority. I know it's really the most important number, or I think it's the most important number. I have 150 backlinks at vastsolutionsgroup.com. What exactly does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, so backlinks are a way for your site to gain visibility. Essentially, the more backlinks you have that are high quality, the higher you can rank for phrases. So before we get into backlinks, we should talk about anchor text. So anchor text is basically you're reading an article and you see a blue hyperlink with the phrase. Say you're reading an article on the best pet food to feed your dog, and you see a phrase within the text that says best dog food, and you could click that hyperlink and it goes to another site. That's a backlink. So the site that it's linking to is getting a backlink from the site that you're reading. And based on how authoritative, based on DA and that number we talked about earlier, that backlink is, it could benefit both sites. Ultimately, it's going to benefit the site that's being linked to. So say Vast Solution Group is getting a backlink from BBC about the word tax services. That's super high quality. That's the best you could possibly do. That's not going to happen. It's really hard unless you know an editor at a news source, but there's other ways to get links. It's through cold outreach. So you can have even a VA or someone in-house send emails out to all the editors of all the blogs you want to reach out to. I would say in my experience, 5% reach out and say, yeah, give me a quality piece of content and we'll link to it, right? So that's a great way to get links. Another way to get links is to have a link broker, of which I know many. And there usually is a cost associated, but to avoid any scrutiny and any spam or any like black hat tactics, they make sure that the content is great, even while charging you a rate. So that's another approach. Or you could build tons of sites and link between them. So there's a number of approaches, and that's not an exhaustive list. That's a way to get links. So having 150 backlinks, while not bad for a business like yours, you should have probably in the thousands because you are a big brand and you have a lot of reach. So yeah, I could walk you through ways after this call to get to that number based on what I just said, but you should have more backlinks and your domain authority should be really high. On the other hand, if you link out to spammy sites and like not so good sites in the eyes of Google based on domain authority, say you're linking to a bunch of sites with domain authority below 30. That's my threshold. You are going to suffer and your domain authority will too, and you'll be put in the spam box. And that's a way to weed out like misinformation, junk, and spam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally eye-opening. Okay, now I know this is the biggest one we could easily change. We have all the content in the world. So keyword ranking, what is that? And our number is 8. So what does that mean?
Keyword number, your number is 8. That means it's still another scale from 0 to 100. So 8, I wouldn't say is awful. That's not really, you're probably using a third-party software that's pumping out that number. There's a number of them, Ahrefs, SEMrush. Neil has a tool, Ubersuggest. I wouldn't focus so much on the number 8. I would more focus on the domain authority, but the 8 indicates that you need more backlinks. Right. And keyword rankings are important. You want to rank for the keywords that people are searching for that relate to your business. And a way to do that is to create backlinks so you rank for those phrases. For the listeners out there, if you could talk to your the person managing your domain or marketing, maybe it's yourself, focus on looking into Google Search Console. It will give you all the data that you need. You can segment by date, you can segment by ranking, and it shows you in a very like visual way how you're ranking and what you're ranking for, and it gives you opportunities on what you should focus on. So if it says that you're ranking on page 2, so each Google page has 10 results. So if you're ranking number 22 for a phrase, that means you're on the second page on average on people's browsers on Google. So if you want to rank higher, then create more backlinks to that phrase. Focus on that phrase, write more copy around that phrase. Focus on that phrase. And if you're doing all the right things in a non-spammy way, you will get to the first page. It will take time and effort and resources, but you can get to the first page.
And I guess it's time for me to basically, bear my information. I thought I was I hate to say this, but I thought I was kind of too cool for marketing. People are likely, they refer business to us. So I didn't really care about the internet, but now we kind of want to start scaling because, the next generation is going to come in and we want them to be able to systematize the business that's come in. And now I think we need the internet more than ever. And to scale, you need the internet. You really do. It's not cool enough to have a storefront, if you will, physical storefront, or referrals, because you can't really scale those to a large extent. So I think now's the time more than ever for us to increase our domain authority, our backlinks and our keywords on our website, et cetera, et cetera. I think right now is the time. We're even going to be buying some ads, some Google ads here in just a little bit. So, all right, let's rip it apart again. Oh, by the way, you haven't explained, how does someone get a hold of you if they're interested in any of your services?
Yeah, it's I like to give my personal email out because it's a very niche community you have here. It's dbpatel83@gmail.com. And my site is dogooddigital.com. DOGOODDIGITAL.com.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now you have those numbers. By the way, we have a spam number of 1%, which is really good. That's
really great.
Good. Mm-hmm. Thank gosh. So, okay, how do you want to take this again, by the way, vastsolutionsgroup.com, Ken and French, we've been around since 1969 under different monikers, obviously. We changed it. So I took over in 2006. Now it's become vastsolutionsgroup.com, where we work with tax. We do tax, finance, and artificial intelligence, lower tax liability for entrepreneurs. We also do finance and commercial property finance as an example, where we provide financing. And then also we've been doing artificial intelligence, or AI, for really since 2018. We started researching it in 2010. I used it for a book that I wrote in 2014. I mean, we've been doing AI. I'm pretty comfortable saying we're AI experts, not only at how we run our business, but also with lowering the tax liability for our clients. So now you have a little bit on us. Let's go back to, I guess, 19,158. What do you suggest? I'm opening the door to you to walk in and clean it up.
Yeah. So let's start from scratch. You're starting a business, right? and you want to get people in the door. There's a number of ways you can do that. Ads being the first, which sounds like we'll talk about the next session we have. We could talk about ads, but that's low hanging fruit. And Google will walk you through how to run ads, right? There's really no way to ultimately mess it up unless you're trying to get too sophisticated. At that point, you should hire a marketing consultant. But Google usually gives you $200 to run ads. You'll get a quick idea of how that works. And often overlooked part of marketing is SEO. So for a lot of clients I've had in the past, they just run ads and they're like, what's SEO? And I think now more than ever, as ad saturation has hit its peak, as people are really averse to looking at ads and getting business or finding businesses through ads, search is very important. So if you're starting a business, the first thing you should focus on is setting up Google Analytics on your website and Google Search Console. You'll be shocked how many businesses I've talked to, worked with, who don't even know what Google Search Console is. So it's a really easy way to see what you're ranking for, how much impression share you're getting, and opportunities, as I mentioned earlier. And it's a free service. It plugs into your Google Tag Manager. So if you have a developer, they could set that up like in a day. The numbers will populate within hours. And it gives you really key insights into what you can be doing, where links are coming from. So it also gives you a list of all the links you're getting and identifies bad links as well. You can give it a list of links you want to remove from your site. So if you don't want people linking to you, or if you found that spam sites are linking to you, you could actually just click a button and they all go away. It's a very powerful tool. Okay, so you have your website set up, you have the apparatus set up, you have all your technical elements set up. How do you get traffic? So we talked about getting backlinks, so having people link to your site through the 3 methods: reach out, get a link broker, or just hope and pray that people are linking to you. Another way to do it is to create compelling content that has the keywords in the headers, in the copy, in the links. If you're trying to rank for a very interesting term that maybe has a lot of search traffic, link to the wiki page. It shows that you're in good faith providing context on what you're trying to rank for and what your business is about. So if you're referencing a tax code from 1950 and you just link that tax code to Wikipedia or any other like legit quote unquote source for that, Google will reward you and give you search impressions because you will have provided a valuable service to people who come to your site. So just to refresh, you could get links, you could create content. You could also have citation listings. So there's forums. I know this is old school internet, but forums are still valuable, and you could provide your website to these forums and these citations so that you are in the right place at the right time so people can search for you. I think it's super valuable if you have a chamber of commerce or if you have a business that is part of a directory. That's another way to get links and get people to your site through search. And then ultimately, Google also gives you the opportunity to do local SEO. And I know we've talked about this in the past. Google reviews, local SEO, where you're ranking for like tax service near me, right? And I think that works very well for restaurants, brick and mortar, or even like someone looking for a local tax person in your area, right? So there's a number of ways that you could leverage search to get more business. And when you do that in conjunction with advertising, the results are immense. And I don't think people put 2 and 2 together. They either do one or the other. But by doing organic search, you could drive down your ad costs tremendously. You could focus on places that you're ranking number 1. So you could just like turn down the levers on paying for the phrase when you're already number 1 for it. And there's no limit to the amount of sophistication you could create around this. And as you see, businesses that thrive have remarkable funnels where they're offering free services in terms of content, ebooks, all kinds of stuff to get people in the door. And their funnel is masterful in that sense. And then you can incorporate all the other channels like social. But if you're starting a website, ads on top of search are vital.
Yeah. And we have, as I mentioned, so many resources for business owners that we've already produced over the years. Now it's more eye-opening than ever. We just have to get them in the hands of people that have good domain authority, and then they'll link back to us, et cetera, et cetera. And then I think you're right, doing that on top of paid ads will only duplicate our efforts and probably bring us in more money on a cost-effective basis. And then also, I'm a big believer in AEO, Ask Engine Optimization. I think that's going to be really the future going forward. But all right, so okay, that totally makes sense. So if we can, the domain of how long would it take as a guess to go from 19 domain authority number 19 to 30 as a total guess if we're really paying attention, really pushing it?
Yeah, I think look at a window of 3 to 4 months. You could So say you had an unlimited budget and you just bought a bunch of links or had all the resources to build the links really quickly. That's actually not good. You want a slow roll. You don't want to signal to Google that you're doing anything that's gaming the system, quote unquote, or purchasing links or doing things that are not best practice, right?
Mm.
So 3 to 4 months, do it meticulously, make sure that you're doing it organically, make sure that it's high quality content. And you could go from 19, potentially, I wouldn't say 30, but incrementally to that point within a year. But you'll start seeing results in the first 3 months if you do it all the right way. I don't have the data in front of me, but from past experience, even like a five-fold increase, a 5% increase in domain authority can provide great results.
Mm.
Really accelerate your business. It'll get you in front of the eyes of the right people.
You mean to go from 19 to whatever 21 as an example?
21, yeah. It's all incremental. It's going to provide a lot of value.
I did research around. We're not a local company, but I did research around us locally, and we're way higher than everyone else. Our 19 is, well, I think the highest I saw was 13. Then again, that's tax stuff and finance, and those groups aren't really very good at.
These are old
domain authority.
websites too. A lot of them are
Yeah.
There's another element of this where even if a site is, say, 13 domain authority, but it has been around since like the advent of the internet, right? Like the early 90s when web browsers were starting and like sites were popping up, Google often overlooks those things. So if you
I got it.
the age of your site, how much traffic you've gotten historically are also ranking indicators. You're the average Joe. Your site's not been around for longer than 10 years or longer than even 20 years. So those things won't benefit you. But if you're a site that's been around forever, maybe you don't need to do these things. But if you do those things, it can only amplify your reach more.
It can only help. Yeah.
Because
we started, when did we, 06. Yeah. 06 is when we started the website itself. And then again, we haven't done anything really we just threw it up there basically, and we haven't done anything. But now I won't even go. Okay. All right. So, and then the 150 backlinks. Now, you don't have to talk specifics if you don't want to, but I think you broker them. What can you do in that regard?
I would build for a company like yours 15 to 20 backlinks a month that are high quality, that are low spam, and focus on 75%, if not more of them being organic, right? You could have the random like PR push or, if there is a broker involved, do it in a very meticulous way where you're making sure it's not spammy, that you're providing content. It's almost like a PR hit. PR costs money. People often overlook that. If you're getting PR, that's the same thing as a backlink. And so there is no gray area. If you're buying PR and it benefits you also in terms of search, then by all means do it. Not everybody has the opportunity to do that, which is why I encourage cold outreach. There's services also in VAs that can do cold outreach to like hundreds of people a day. Imagine the opportunity there, right? And the investment that it takes is so minimal compared to the value that you could get from it.
Do you ever like do a master campaign and then have the VA? Because we have staff, that could actually do the work, but I don't think they know it. I know they don't know it like you do.
You have to train them. You have to do it yourself first and then give them the reins, right? Like you don't want to just hand it off and be like, build me links. You're going to get a bad experience. You're going to get bad links. Do it yourself for like 15 to 20 emails, understand how it works, and then train them.
And I have the network to be able to do that, I think, and pretty easily, I would think.
Speaking of network, you can reach out to people in your network and ask for backlinks, right? Say if you are running an affiliate strategy or you are working with like-minded individuals where your content can be valuable to their piece. I told you as a hobby, I run a wellness Zen website and a photography website. I get countless people reaching out to me over email. Hey, I have a great article. I would love to link to your site. Or, hey, I saw your site. I'm going to build a backlink for you. And all I say is thanks, because they did all the work. Or I'll look in my Google Search Console and be like, wow, this really reputable site built a link to me. Maybe I could ask for more. Let me reach out to them. Hey, I saw that you built a link to my site. Here's some more. It's all about networking. At the end of the day, value is value. I've had people ask me if they can link to my site. If they're not spammy, I say, sure, by all means. If you get into a sophisticated campaign where link costs money, though, it might be a different calculus, right? You don't want just anybody linking to your site.
Yep, I get it. Okay, all right. And then the keywords. So again, our number's 8, and I know for a fact we don't have that much. We have a blog on our site and then all of our podcast notes, if you will. And almost by intent, we haven't been updating the site because we changed it to FAQ or question and answer for AEO, and we didn't really think about some of the kind of specific terms. So let's say we go back to the keyword rankings. What are some of the things we should do? Again, I'm going to assume you're going to say put content, really relevant content around certain words, which we haven't done, but that's what you're going to say probably.
Yeah, well, as a first step, do keyword research. And I think what can inform keyword research for an existing site like yours is go into Search Console, identify the top 15 to 20 keywords that you want to target, put them on a spreadsheet, then determine how hard it is to rank for those phrases. And there's tools, as I mentioned, like Neil Zuber suggests, SEMrush or Ahrefs, that will give you another 0 to 100 scale on keyword difficulty. Focus on the keyword difficulties that are anything below 50 and start building link towards those. Chances are the ones above 50 are going to be harder to rank for. So it's like a long-term goal, or you'll never rank for them just because there's so much competition, unless you have the big bucks where you could, do some PR or link broker, right? Mm-hmm. So as a first step, research, determine what you're going to target, and then go after it. And then only focus on 5 to 10 keywords at a time to build links to, and then iterate and assess, and then move on to the next. I think a lot of people just willy-nilly build links without thinking about how you're going to scale. Because if you're doing it the right way and you're seeing results, your results should be paying for it's like a feedback loop that it should be paying for the links that you're creating and the effort you're putting into your links. Mm-hmm. A lot of companies, a lot of big companies, a lot of service providers have this feedback loop on lock, where ads and search are on loop and the data is informing how they're spending, right? Yep.
I hear you. Yeah, boy, there's two guys who are big backlink experts, and they're going to die when I tell them that we only have 150 links and 8 keyword, and they're going to laugh at me. Anyway, that's a whole nother deal. I guess if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? Mm-hmm. So, all right. So, and by the way, and one of those guys told me you got to be doing stuff on LinkedIn because LinkedIn has good authority, and then also do a lot of stuff on Medium and one other I forgot.
Medium's a great place to build links, by the way. So that's great advice. Medium, in many ways cannibalizes content you create and the links don't go towards you, but it's great for brand reach. You're not going to build valuable backlinks off there, but you're going to build reach where people will click and go back to your site. Sometimes they do. There's 2 types of links. There's do follow link, meaning that Google will reward you for a backlink, and no follow, where it's the link doesn't mean anything. It just means it clicks to you, and it's not really a backlink. It's just hey, go here. Right. And in my experience, Medium oftentimes was a no follow link, but because they get so much volume, someone lands on your site. That's a win.
Yep. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. By intent, I'm embarrassed to say this, but by intent, I made it so whenever I wrote for Medium, I didn't have any links. That was by intent.
You could always go back though. There's an editor.
I know. Well, actually, what I need to do is refresh some of the stuff because we have big guides out there. We have a couple press releases out there, which I guess those aren't as big of a deal. But
I used to have back in the day. When I'm saying back in the day, I mean from 2010 to 2015. I had Huffington Post and I want to say Bloomberg, or I forgot the other one. But basically, they would give you editor access, and whatever you published went straight onto Huffington Post without anybody looking over it. So I would.
Are you serious?
I used to toss tons of backlinks into those. And I think they got wise to it, and they ended up being no follow links. They ended up not rewarding you. And now they don't even let you do that. Very few people have the ability to press send and it goes straight to, and I think that's due to a number of issues, misinformation, spam, all that, right? They don't want that out there. But it used to be easy to get links. I used to be able, before Google penalized this is 2008. I just started. You could just go to a site called, what was it called? Sponsored reviews, and you could just buy a link. I want to buy that link, $10, and you could just rank like crazy for things. I ranked for the term healthcare marketing for my first client ever by just buying a bunch of sponsored reviews.
I like that idea.
Healthcare marketing is huge because that's pharmaceuticals are paying for that term. So I quantified it. It was in the hundreds of thousands that keyword was worth, right? Obviously, my employer then, who's a friend now, didn't know the value of that, but it did provide a lot of value for their company.
Yeah.
It was a wild west. It was a wild west, and it was a time when, our friend Neil really flourished when you could do that. But Now you have to be really careful about how you build links and what you're doing when you're building.
It is, yeah. I've learned a lot from. I mean, it really is. It's important. I mean, as I think you and I talked about before, marketing. There's two things in a business that really matters: research and development, or really of a service or product. Putting it out. You have to have a good product or manufactured, and then marketing. And we have a really good product and service, way advanced, clearly way advanced, and then at the same time we have such bad marketing. Now we have to just marry the two, and then we're off to the races. So, okay, I have a couple other questions.
Yeah.
We have let's do a quick reset. Once again, my name is Kenneth French. We're here. I'm with vastsolutionsgroup.com. Vast Voice. We're telling business secrets to entrepreneurs, which is huge. We by the way, got done interview Valet's top 20 business podcast of 2025. Huge deal. Thank you very much. Interview Valet. I love that. And we're talking to, why don't you go ahead and reset and tell us who you are again?
Dhaval Patel, dogooddigital.com. You could probably look down there, and whoever's editing this will add it there. And I've been doing marketing for 15 years, and I love to help people out.
And we're doing a case review of us here at vastsolutionsgroup.com. We've been, let's say, marketing shy, social media shy, and we just found out that our domain authority was, less than good. And then also we didn't have very many backlinks, and Dhaval's been helping us on that. And then also he's been helping us on our keyword. So, all right, you said we're going to talk about maybe the next time, specifically Google Ads. Why don't you real quickly, let's talk about that now. Mention a little bit about what you know as far as Google Ads, and then we could take it from there.
I'll tease this in because I think Google Ads deserves a whole conversation, but I'll talk about how Google Ads work in conjunction with ads themselves. And this is mostly off empirical data. For the longest time, Google doesn't even address this now, but for the longest time, Google said there is no correlation between spend and organic search. But all the data and all the spend I've done in the past said otherwise. It got to a point where I literally had a client who was like, let's turn off ads for a while. Search is doing so well. Search tanked. And I was like, I told you not to turn off the ads, right? Why would they incentivize people to turn off their ads, right? They're only going to reward people who have ads and search in conjunction. And there's other variables to this. So there's a thing called quality score when you're running ads. Your quality score has to be high, meaning if you are trying to bid on a keyword and it's not on your landing page, your quality score diminishes, which means you'll get served less to people in ads and your cost per click will go up. Additionally, if your site looks spammy and it's not optimized well, and if the buttons on your site are not optimized, your quality score will go down. If you are not doing all the right things in terms of optimizing a page for SEO, which would be keywords, as I mentioned, or making sure the funnels are right, or even just having images that are optimized for search, you will be penalized. To have a really robust marketing strategy and that you want to scale, you'll have to focus on both ads and search in a very meaningful, impactful way. And when I say that, I mean, make sure your marketing is aligned, right? If you're trying to pay for your term, make sure that what you're attempting to rank for is kind of falling in line and in conjunction with that, right? If you're going after dog food, don't write about cat food on your website, right? Like, simple things that you would think people would know are often overlooked because everything's in a silo, right? If you have a productive company, you might have one person running your ads and the other person doing your search, which I see more often than not. If you're not having them communicate, and if you're not having them communicate with your sales funnel, it's going to be all over the place and your results will tank, right? And if you're not focused on search and ads in conjunction, you're really doing yourself a disservice. You'll have a scenario where you'll be killing it on your ads, but all of a sudden you have a drop off and you're like, why? It's because you haven't focused on other channels, specifically search.
Yep, that makes sense.
You can't just buy traffic. It's not going to work.
Yeah, you have to have both because it'll equal so much more. I get it. So then let's talk about the keyword. So let's say we use, as you mentioned, Uber Suggest and all the other tools out there, and we have really good copy on our website. So our keyword ranking goes up, and then we go with a broker or with whomever you suggest as far as the backlinks. Okay. And then we're also doing let's say the LinkedIn pieces pointing to our website, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not a patient person, so I'm going to ask again in a different way. Let's say we get everything all turned around, really clean, et cetera, et cetera. So would you say, I don't know, 6 months, a year, how long if we do everything? So I'm going a little bit more in depth. Everything according to plan, how long will it take then to raise that domain authority, which is really the number?
So I said, if you were starting from scratch or where you're starting now at a very low score, 3 months, you'll start seeing incremental results if you're doing things right. If you're doing it the right way. 1 year to get to maybe that 30 mark for you in your
Got it.
business. Yeah. Just do
Got
things
it.
the right way. Make sure you're showing me what you're doing. And I'll make sure that you're at number 30. We could circle back a year from now on this podcast and we'll have the big hooray with a
All
pizza
right.
party. Yeah.
That's fair. That's totally
Yeah.
fair. I like that. Then we'll be able to use this as an example, good case example.
Yeah.
So
And it's exciting. And you can see what we're doing along the way. I think this could be a good, fun thing for your audience.
yeah, I totally get it. And I'm assuming everything that we're talking about for us, you can do for other people with no issue, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Once again, how does someone get a hold of you?
dogooddigital.com. It'll be here. The editor will add it here.
Yep. Okay, sweet. All right, I have a couple more questions. So we've gone over domain authority, backlinks, keyword, a little bit in the spam. So what are some other things we should be thinking about that kind of impact the domain authority or indirectly impact it? One of the two.
Something that's really cool that's popped up is metadata in social, specifically Instagram and Reels. There's a toggle actually that was added to social platforms not too long ago where you can say add my results to metadata.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a user of Instagram. You follow me on Instagram. A lot of the things now that I'm writing about when I'm traveling or talking, I'm at a Laker game and I like put it in a caption is searchable, right? For better or worse, as a personal brand. Luckily, I don't share too many private details, but like if you're a business trying to rank for phrases and you have that toggled off, you're doing yourself a disservice. So always keep that toggle on so that Google could index your social channels. So you'll start showing up in search. If something goes viral, you get like 1 million views or 1 million likes or whatever, chances are it will be on Google search and the phrase and the captions that you're using will be too. So make sure you're really mindful of having that toggled on and that you're using keywords in your social sharing. If you're not using keywords in your social sharing, how are people going to find you, right? And also, if you're noticing on Instagram specifically, it's an AI tool now, right? So it's all search based. You could search like a phrase and before you couldn't find what you wanted, but now you could because now it's parsing through all the captions if those toggles are turned on. Actually, you don't even need the toggle turned on within the native app, but essentially using search as a native function to social is valuable. So your captions, the way you're articulating things on your captions, back in the day, it was wise to have 150 characters or less. Now people have whole like theses and paragraphs explaining a post or informing people, right? So you want to get people stuck on your social page as long as possible and then be like, click on the link in bio, right? And that's an oft overlooked piece of search. People don't add that to their marketing mix, social search. Same goes for YouTube. That's all indexed by Google. Anywhere you have an opportunity to add captions should be optimized for search with keywords.
Yeah. And we have not been doing a good job of like for our social media stuff. We basically do it as informational. I think we have to make it a little bit more fun, show our personalities. We'll do I'm making this up, a 10-minute thing on attack strategy. Well, wait a minute. Most people aren't going to watch the whole thing. They just want to see a blurb and then maybe go to our website and then go to our free community and maybe then our paid community, which is $199 a month. So, I mean, it's not compelling enough to get people to drive them to our website. And I know now we have to do that a little bit more.
Imagine if they kept reading and they read a caption on a post and they got everything they needed from it. And they're like, okay, let me go to the other post. Right. And they got everything they needed from it. And they continually did that. Eventually, they're going to be like, wow, these guys are great. Let me learn more about them. So it's like that soft sell, like 5 different touch points on your social channels will probably lead to a valuable click rather than a click and get bored, jump off, right?
Totally.
So you're like, you're soft selling them on social.
And our engagement's a joke. We're not, because I'm not gonna say engaging personality, but I like people. And at the same time, when I'm on the other side of the keyboard, I don't engage, like I don't communicate with kind of the people on the other side of the keyboard. And I think I need to do that. That'll help. And I think that's another issue. We don't, we'll do a post. Someone might even comment on it if we're lucky. And we don't, comment back. And I think that's pretty important. I think the longer people stay on our website, the longer people stay on our social site, the better off we'll be. And then it'll kick it out to more people if we're talking about social, like Instagram or X or Facebook or whatever the case is.
Here's a quick hack. And I know you and I both use Riverside, so it pumps out all the captions and all the data. I started using this Chrome-based app called Ask Monica, and it's basically an AI agent. And you go on I just toss in my YouTube link, or I'm on the YouTube page of a video itself, and there's a pop-up that comes up, and I just put create caption. Same works for an image. There's ways to pop an image into AI and just give it like, a few bullets, right? So with AI tools, there's no reason your captions should be boring. They should be super compelling, right? And I see that a lot. Like, oh, come into our office for a free dog grooming. And that's it. It's like you have this tool that can allow you to write reams of paragraphs that are valuable to like your consumer. Use it, right? Use it in a very thoughtful way.
And that reminds me, that's another thing we're changing. A lot of people have told us this, and for whatever reason, I didn't listen, or do what I was supposed to do. And that is on our website, we're going to have a tool right off the bat. Because right now we have do you want to have a consultation or something like that? Although we change it every once in a while. But now we're going to do is we're going to throw actual tool on there that helps them. We're going to basically move some of our artificial intelligence to interface with the client so it can answer some of their questions. Oh, what's your, if you give us these bits of information, this is how much your tax liability will be, and this is what we can do to lower the tax liability, or this is the amount we can lower the tax liability. So we're going to have, free tools right in our website.
Yeah. And it's like a chat bot, right? As long as you manage it and train it, it'll get you the results you want, right? And it'll get the people in the door the right way too. And yeah, I think this is an ever evolving conversation where I'm learning a lot too.
All right, so let's talk costs, I guess, just to the general market. What are some of the costs that you charge for whatever things like raising domain authority, backlinks, et cetera? Just in general, I won't hold you to it. The listener won't either.
I mean, it really depends. I have to look at the scope of the work. I would say if you're really focused on a robust link building campaign, it could exceed upwards of like $20,000, right? But if you're just starting off, you could probably get a reasonable rate of $1,000 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, don't hold me to that. It just based on a lot of it is cold outreach, right? So that's manual labor. That's a lot of editing, and then there's another element where I mentioned it's like PR, right? I don't even call it a link broker. I'm going to call it PR because it is PR. Getting connected to the right people who own the right sites is PR. They do it in Hollywood. They do it in sports. Everything comes for a price. And yeah, you'd be a fool to think that you can't purchase these things, right? And I think we need to articulate in the right way in the search community that when you are buying links, you're actually buying press, right? Yeah. But if you're buying spammy links, then you're buying spammy links and they should be called out for, right? So I encourage everybody to buy press, just to go back on the conversation earlier, rather than buying spammy links. And then getting 70% of your stuff from cold outreach is probably the best approach. And you can hire people to do that as well. So you don't have to do it yourself, right? You can hire a VA, you can hire a VA agency, you can hire an agency that specializes in this altogether. But at the end of the day, you want to have real connection with real people who own real websites and who are backlinking to you in a very thoughtful way.
I'm sure you've heard this before, but all businesses, all this stuff it's like high school. It's whoever the cool guys are or cool girls. I mean, if you're hanging out with someone who has cool domain authority, they're popular, right? And then either way you get to that popularity, either you buy it or from hanging out with people around that most popular person, because then they link back. They come hang out with you at a party or invite you to a party. That'll increase your domain authority. That really is what it is. It's a big high school game. It's crazy. It's really hitting me now.
Yeah, it's like voting. It's like a popularity contest, right?
100, totally.
How many touch points do you have? And for you guys like you and me who are very business minded and old school, it's weird doing that. But if you want to thrive in this day and age, this is what you need to do.
You really need to. And the way I looked at it is, I'm so smart. People will come to us, but you need the popular person next to you, and there's no way they get next to you unless you do it hanging out with them at parties or pay them to hang out. Otherwise no one's going to find out how smart we are or how cool we are, because we're just hanging out the outskirts of everything.
Internet really rewards popularity, for better or worse, which is why we see a lot of quote unquote idiots that are thought leaders. And the smart guy's like, hey, that guy's saying all the wrong stuff. Well, if you want to compete with those dudes saying the wrong stuff, then you have dudes or dudettes, whatever. Yeah. You really have to get yourself out there, and it's up to you to speak up, right? And
it really is.
Yeah.
And the people who don't want to speak up, that's going to be tough for them because, man, it's really tough to be found otherwise, or to hang out with the popular people.
Yeah, digging your head in the sand is not the right thing to do in this day and age of marketing. You have to voice your opinion and back it up with data, right?
Yeah. And I just thought it was cool. I was like, hey, they'll come to us, and it was the wrong way. I do this thing called Diary of a Failed Entrepreneur, and this is just one more thing I'm going to put in the series. So, people, I'm sure
people be a book eventually, because I'd love to read it.
Yeah. Right
No,
now it's
what a
a bunch of
compelling like
videos, but yeah, it
headline.
should be a book because man, people should be doing the exact opposite of what I'm doing as far as marketing, business, etc. Although luckily we've always been able to do the good product, the good service, way advanced technologically, et cetera, et cetera. But there's so much more that comes with it,
Yep. And your value is in your network. I can attest to that. You know a lot of great people who have led you in great directions.
Yeah, and my deal is I haven't want to ever ask any of those guys or girls, "Hey, can you do something for us?" And now maybe it is time to do it. And plenty have said, "Hey, I'll help you." And I just again, it's my ego. I haven't taken advantage of, but I know now I should.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
Yeah. All right. So one last time, we're just about to close close the door on this. What's one piece of advice based on what we've already talked about that you think can add value to the viewers and listeners out there with respect to domain authority?
I think we've talked about all these channels. We've talked about all these tools. Have a robust marketing reporting cadence in place with the right KPIs so you know what to look for, right? You're looking for impression share, you're looking for keyword rankings, and you're looking for clicks from keywords, right? And if you focus on those things, which are all available again in Google Search Console. If that's one takeaway that I have for business owners is set up Google Search Console. I can't quantify this, but if I were to guess, I'd say over 30%, under 30%, whatever, around 30% of business owners aren't using Google Search Console. They're like, I have GA4 set up. That's not going to get you where you need to be.
Yep, totally makes sense. Totally, I've heard a lot about that. We do have it set up, but I don't look at it, but I should. I get it. All right, dude, this has been way helpful for all those people out there. I've known Dhaval for a while now, and I know he's the real deal. He can help you as far as marketing goes. Obviously, you're watching this. This is a case example of some of the things that he has said that will add value to us in the bottom line. Thank you for staying with us. You know what I'm gonna do for the people who are here? I wrote I was a former, or I am a former Forbes.com contributor for small businesses. And I've put together a bunch of articles, obviously. I've never taken advantage of them. Anyway, I put them together as a book, The Entrepreneur's Manifesto, a collection of smart financial advice. If you email us at info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, we'll send you a manuscript. It's helpful. One lady said one idea here saved her $100,000. Give us your address. Again, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. We'll go ahead and send you a book saying thank you. It really is a way of saying thank you for listening and watching. It really, I like doing these. I learn a lot. Hopefully you guys out there are learning a lot as well. So once again, this is Kenneth French. I'm with VastSolutionsGroup.com. You've been watching and listening. Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks, everybody.